Kia ora, hello, I'm Philip Duncan. Thank you for joining us as we take a look at the forecast for the first 2 weeks of 2025, and this was recorded on the last day of 2024. So let's get into the forecast for New Year's Eve. To start with, we've still got low pressure out here to the east of the country. This map shows 10 o'clock this evening, the windy weather, which is in the brighter shading, which is basically around Cook Strait and from about Wellington, southern Wairarapa up to about East Cape. There's also a bit of a windy sou'wester continuing around the Auckland area. It should ease back a little bit as we go into tonight, but still a bit windy around parts of Northland, Auckland, Coromandel Peninsula, maybe the Western Bay of Plenty. And I'm really talking to people in tents and awnings for the most part. It's not looking overly problematic, but you never know, there could be a couple of power cuts as we end 2024. So this is 10 o'clock tonight. You can see the wet weather map here showing a few showers from about mid-Canterbury up to about East Cape. Wellington also included in that. So it's going to be a little hit and miss. If rain matters to you, keep an eye on that rain radar, because showers by their very nature are a bit hit and miss. You'll be seeing those fading out the further south you go. So the southern half of the South Island looks pretty dry, if not completely dry. And most of the western side of New Zealand looks dry. There could be a couple of showers just coming in off the Tasman around the western side of Northland, and can't rule out the chance of maybe Auckland getting a lingering shower in there, but it's mainly dry for most other places. So this is how we kick off January the 1st, 2025. We've got that large low out to the east here. So that is still driving in a bit of a southerly flow for the North Island. It might be southeasterly for some of you in the east and southwesterly for those of you around that Auckland, Coromandel, Northland area. We've got a couple of showers from mid-Canterbury northwards, but many places are looking dry. And again, track the rain radar if it matters to you. We've got a bit of a northeasterly potentially coming into Southland. Into the second day of 2025, not a great deal of change. We are still seeing some showers in both of the main islands that could bubble up during the day, and they could be a little bit heavy. Maybe the chance of a thunderstorm in there. Should be fairly isolated though. Still got that southwesterly blowing around Auckland and Northland and maybe some parts of Coromandel Peninsula. Not an overly strong wind, but again, if you're in a tent or an awning, it might be noticeable. So going through to Friday, here is the next cold front, and this map here looks very similar to Monday the 30th of December with that cold front that came up the South Island. Really incredible thunderstorms around the upper half of the South Island, around Nelson and Marlborough and over towards the west coast. Huge hailstorms in there as well. We might get a repeat performance on Friday afternoon as the next southerly change comes up with downpours. And then that downpour risk moves into the North Island going into Friday night and Saturday morning. There is a bit of a cold front ahead of that, so that'll be a little burst of showers, won't be very much by the looks of it. And again, those windy west to southwesterlies carry on for the top half of the North Island, turning more south to southeasterly for the South Island. That's why you're getting that wet weather into the eastern side. So that's the next burst kind of moving northwards, and on Saturday you can see the lingering part of it there around Gisborne. Could be a thunderstorm in the morning or a downpour for you as that moves on through. It doesn't look likely to linger though. The next high, air pressure is going up with that one, and that tends to help calm things down a bit. But certainly this weekend, Saturday and again on Sunday, dominated around the country by southerly quarter winds, southwesterlies, southerlies and southeasterlies blowing through. Might be a couple of heavy showers in there around on Sunday when you put in the daytime heating. Still got that southwesterly blowing at the very top of the country. Doesn't look overly strong, but noticeable again if you're trying to sleep in a tent. But the high is rolling on in. So let's show you next week. High pressure is, well, actually the air pressure in general is going up. The higher the air pressure gets, the more settled things generally get to be around us, especially if that high pressure zone comes in over the top of us, which this one is trying to do. So we do see weather settling down, but you're clearly noticing the southerly flow in the first week of January. So the first week of January, not as hot as most of December was. We're seeing daytime maximums in the teens and the early 20s in many regions. You know, we're only a few days ago, we were talking about the low 30s. So this is a change across the country. And because of that, not very muggy. We're not feeling that humidity coming out of the tropics, none of that at the moment. And a lot of storms still down around the Southern Ocean. That is dominating our weather. So Tuesday next week, high pressure is in the Tasman Sea. High pressure south of Adelaide as well. We've got low pressure near the Chatham Islands, a storm well south of the country, and connected to that storm in the Southern Ocean is the next cold front with another southerly or southeasterly change coming in around it. So let's animate this. This is kind of a fast animation. It takes you through to the following Tuesday, the 14th. And let's have a look at the next 7 days coming through. So you see a lot of high pressure coming into the country, showers in both of the islands, maybe some thunderstorms coming through this at that weekend, and then the next big high rolling on in with higher air pressure. So our final map here, which is Tuesday the 14th of January, and what I just showed you in that animation, watch it back and forth a couple of times to get your head around it. The reason why I'm showing you the big picture and kind of just quickly is because you can sort of see the high pressure zones in the New Zealand area are dominating. It is still stormy down in the Southern Ocean. That stormy weather carries on the windy westerlies, the southerlies, the cold fronts. And the high pressure zones, looks as though as we go into the middle of the month, are protecting us from the tropics, where we do see a bit more life. There is low pressure right across the northern half of Australia, around the Coral Sea, and also out here around Rarotonga. Not locked in, but you can see those lows forming. One of them could easily form into a tropical cyclone at this time of the year. But high pressure in the New Zealand area means, and it's not overly strong to begin with, means I think we're going to be seeing southerly winds dominating, temperatures down, but the air pressure starting to go up and settling things down a bit, which is fairly traditional, I got to say, for January. We do normally see the weather calming down after December can be off and on. So this is the 11-day rainfall. This takes us through till Friday of next week. Didn't do 15-day because I don't totally trust the long-range models, and I don't want to put a map up that shows major rain or major dry and only to find a day later it breaks. But I think the 11-day map is fairly accurate. What it shows you is basically from north of Christchurch up to East Cape, including parts of Wellington. That's the area with a better chance of wet weather, 50, 60 millimetres in those areas, and obviously if a thunderstorm forms over you, you can get more than that. It's pretty dry at the top of the country. All of this pale blue you see out over the Tasman Sea and north of New Zealand, around the subtropics, that is high pressure. It's at the bottom of the scale, 1 to 5 millimetres over the next sort of 11 days. That is not much wet weather coming through for there. And around Australia, very dry too, but wet weather sliding down the east for them. So wet weather on the eastern side of Australia, wet weather on the eastern side of New Zealand, and a lot of high pressure on this map at the moment. And the tropics, wettest weather is up here around Samoa, where they could be seeing a few 100 millimetres. So we'll be keeping an eye on that zone between Fiji and about the Cook Islands. That's certainly an area where low pressure is starting to bubble up a wee bit, and also into the Coral Sea. So that is the forecast. That is all from me. I will be back again on the 14th of January. That is a Tuesday. Here is our programming note right here. So today's video, no videos for the next 2 weeks, and then we return Tuesday, January the 14th, hopefully without a lot of drama, and there's sort of like a nice quiet weather pattern for a couple of weeks to make the holiday makers happy and the people trying to make hay. That's another group. And then of course you got the people with the gardens and the rainwater, and they want some rain. So hopefully this forecast keeps many of you happy, but it certainly won't. It never does. That's New Zealand after all. Thank you for all of your support this year. Thank you for those of you who give us donations on YouTube and all the comments, positive, negative. We love them all. It's good to get banter with some of you. I hope you have a fantastic new year. Stay safe. If you're swimming, be careful around the water. Take care with that sun. It's very, very hot at the moment. Even if the temperatures aren't, you can still get sunburnt, even if it's a maximum of 12 degrees. So be careful out there. Have a great summer, and I'll see you again in just a couple of weeks.